Imagine working your entire life to build a nest egg for your children, only to watch it evaporate into thin air because the legal system decided that your property rights simply didn't matter anymore. How would you feel if a stranger was living in your building for nearly a decade, refusing to pay rent, while the courts allowed them to rotate through lawyers and stall the process until you were effectively bankrupt? Before we continue, if you want to stay on top of everything happening in U.S. politics and the systemic issues affecting our neighborhoods, hit that subscribe button right now and leave a like. It really helps this channel grow and ensures we can keep bringing you these critical stories. The story of Thomas Diana in Brooklyn, New York, is nothing short of a modern-day horror film. Back in 2014, Diana allowed a woman to move into one of his units as a live-in companion for an elderly, disabled tenant. It was a simple, neighborly act. But when that elderly tenant passed away in 2016, the situation took a dark turn. What should have been a standard end-of-tenancy transition exploded into a 9-year, soul-crushing legal odyssey that has cost Diana hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid rent and mounting legal fees. Diana describes it as a Twilight Zone marathon. He claims he's been forced to borrow money just to keep his children in college, all while his tenant continues to occupy the unit without paying a dime. The tenant, backed by Brooklyn Legal Services, has maintained a relentless defense, changing lawyers at least 8 times and tying the case up in constant procedural delays. While the tenant's attorneys argue that Diana improperly removed the apartment from rent stabilization laws, Diana points to the fact that he followed state guidance at the time and that a judge even ruled there was no fraud involved. But for Diana, the details of the specific housing laws aren't the point. The point is the systemic imbalance. We are looking at a system that effectively allows bad faith actors to weaponize the court process. Every time a resolution seems within reach, a new motion is filed, a new story is told, and the meter keeps running on Diana's bank account. He estimates he's owed upwards of $300,000. In a city like New York, that isn't just a business loss, that is the difference between a family's financial security and total collapse. This case raises massive red flags about the state of our judicial system. When housing court becomes a place where an owner is told they should just sell their building or pay the person who is already costing them a fortune to leave, we have to ask ourselves, is this justice? Or is this just legalized theft disguised as tenant protection? We are seeing a trend in major American cities where the balance of power has shifted so heavily that property ownership feels more like a liability than an asset. When you hear people talk about the housing crisis, we usually think about affordability for renters. But this story highlights the other side of that coin, the total erosion of the rights of small-scale landlords. If the people providing the housing can't survive the costs, what happens to the market then? We're looking at a situation where the court's inability to deliver a timely verdict is essentially allowing one party to live for free on the back of a private citizen's life savings. So what do you think about this? Does the current system provide too much protection for individuals at the expense of property owners? Or is this just a classic case of a landlord trying to bypass regulations? Drop your opinion in the comments below. I read every single one, and I want to know where you stand on this property rights debate. The reality is that for Thomas Diana, the Twilight Zone continues. While politicians argue over rent control and housing policy in the halls of power, real people are losing their futures in the cramped courtrooms of Brooklyn. It's time we demand a system that prioritizes common sense and actual justice over endless bureaucratic delays. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned as we keep digging into the stories that matter.